darkest nights, from the sunny days. I hope you learn something. I hope you learn something. I hope you learn something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to a very, very slapdash version of the All Hat No Cattle News Rodeo. I am your host, of course, Hat. Here's what's going on. Let me just lay it out completely truthfully. I am trying to wrap up Far Cry 5, my current PC morning game playthrough. And there are a lot of loose ends that I have to take care of that are boring and repetitious and just not good podcasting, if you will. Not good. And I have literally been trying to get all that done since I first signed off this morning at 12 Eastern, noon Eastern, from today's early playthrough. I took a break for lunch. That's it. Everything else has been driving, flying, fishing, just all over the damn place. I realize I'm boring you to tears, and I realize this is a first world problem to the nth degree. But the thing is, if I don't do it while I'm thinking of it, I can't go back to it later because I just can't remember where I was. And the game doesn't save exactly where you left off. It puts you someplace else, someplace maybe nearby, maybe not. It's a very weird setup. So I can't guarantee that I will start where I ended. And I can't mark the map where I ended unless I leave the game up. You leave the game up too long, it locks up like any other game. They don't like to be left idling for any length of time. So I literally had 3 minutes to pull some news stories together while the song was playing. So we're going to go through some news as I find it. But if you feel that this is not something you want to be a part of, you feel the need to bail, I understand completely. But I just want to let you know what's going on. I just cannot, at this point in time, do both things in one day. I just can't. I need the extra time to finish up Far Cry 5 because I'm very close to being done with it. I've got a few side missions. Another thing I'm doing right now is finding the side missions that I missed before. And that also entails a lot of driving, a lot of flying, a lot of running around on boats. Very, very, very boring stuff. In fact, I found a mission today literally because I drove by it. If I hadn't driven by it, I never would have known it was there. There was another one that I walked into without knowing it was going to be there. Things like that. So let's look at a few stories and talk about the market, things like that, and we'll get it going. So first off, let me go ahead and grab the latest Babylon Bee. Let's see. There we go. That's a good one. All right. Let me bring it up. There we have it. All right. So, getting underway. First of all, let me check something real quickly. It doesn't look like the DLive chat is working. Let me see something here. No, it's good. It's good. Let me fix one thing. DLive keeps turning off the timestamp. By the way, I finally learned that Twitch has a timestamp on its chat. It's just a user setting that I had missed. So thankfully now I've got that fixed. All right, so anyway, let's get into it. First off, a Babylon Bee bookend, as always. This is the one on the left. From the politics section. To improve public perception, Kamala Harris taking likability lessons from Hillary Clinton. And here we have a picture of the two grand dames of Democrat politics and failed presidential runs. Hillary on the left and Kamala on the right. Dateline, Washington, D.C. The White House is scrambling in an effort to improve the likability of Vice President Kamala Harris. Reports indicate that Democrats fear for her chances of re-election if drastic measures are not taken immediately. Looking for help anywhere they can get it, Democrats in their desperation have turned to Hillary Clinton to coach Kamala and to teach her how to be more likable. First things first, Kamala, explained Clinton. Next time you're tempted to cackle uncontrollably, just call half of the U.S. a basket of deplorables instead. Sure, it's divisive and unpopular, but it's a step in the right direction for you. Continued Hillary, now let's practice what to say when people hound you over and over for your inexplicable decision to avoid the border. Repeat after me. What difference does it make? Say that and everyone will be off your case in no time. Close quote. Hillary ran through several drills to try and help Kamala not cackle when she asked things like, "Are you a socialist?" or "Why are kids in cages?" After realizing that strategy was hopeless, Hillary had to give up and try something else. In a last-ditch effort, Hillary encouraged Kamala to start her own email scandal to keep everyone distracted and focused on something else. Hillary sighed, quote, "Kamala, I know it sounds crazy, but if everyone's talking about your emails and not your likability, you might finally see your public perception improve from where it's at." Babylon Bee, everyone. Setting us off on the right foot. Oops. Wrong screen. Excuse me just a moment. All right, the market. A down day on the market, pretty significantly. The Dow was down 0.6%, over 200 points to end the day, closing just under 34,600. As you can see, the market did start on a high note at 34,732, and then there was a very sharp sell-off right off the opening bell. And aside from a slight recovery and dip again, it was a very long, slow crawl back up towards 34,600. So not a good day on the market. The S&P 500 was also down 0.2%. The Nasdaq, the only winner on the day, up just under 0.2% at 14,663 and change. Gold up 0.25%. Crude oil actually dropped almost a full 2% so far in trading today. It was much higher. You remember yesterday, as early as 5 a.m. Eastern this morning, it was over almost $77 a barrel, and it just fell off the face of the earth. I think OPEC may have reached its agreement. OPEC Plus reached its agreement, and so futures fell off there. And Bitcoin is still struggling to stay above 34,000. It's currently at 33,959 and change per coin. Just dropped a little bit as we're looking at it. As you can see, Bitcoin did have a spike earlier this morning. I was up almost to, it was just over, 35,000, but then saw a very sharp sell-off. Again, Bitcoin being very volatile, people do not feel that it is worth holding, and they are getting out on the highs. They feel that it's not going to grow much past where it is now. Certainly, many sentiments are it's not going to go back to the 64,000 mark that it was just a little while ago, and they're taking any profits they can get. Of course, there are a great number of other people who feel that is incredibly short-sighted, and they're panic selling. But let's remember, if you bought Bitcoin back in September of last year, you saw a several hundred times increase in your in the worth of your Bitcoin since then. So even though it's below 34,000 right now, it's still massively more valuable than it was just a few months ago. So that is the thinking of a lot of people, to take their gains and to go. Now, of course, smart market players take their gains in pieces, basically paying back what you paid for the stock in gains, setting that aside, and then waiting for the dip, and then taking that money and buying the dip. That is the best way to play the market. The trick is timing the dips. That's the hard part. That is the hard part, and not a lot of people get it right very often. Skullcram says in the D-Live chat, Jen Psaki talked about the administration was working on lowering oil prices. Interesting. I'll look for that. If you happen to see an outlet that's on Skullcram, please let me know. Skullcram also says in the D-Live chat, Bitcoin is not one for the long haul. Not tipping my hand one way or the other. I am rosy on Bitcoin, and I am not an investment analyst. I am not giving anyone investment advice, but I am rosy on Bitcoin. I think it will see a big gain coming, especially as inflation in the U.S. keeps ramping up and the dollar becomes more and more worthless. You'll see that gold, again, had a slight rise today, almost 0.3%. It's closing in on $1,800 an ounce again. So it's reversing its losses from just a week ago, 2 weeks ago. But so I believe that that is the future of Bitcoin is good. I believe, but I'm not going to give any other indications there whether I'm invested in it or not. That's not important, and it would get in the way more than anything else. Okay, moving right along. So. I don't know if the market reacted to this or not, but I saw this story on the Daily Wire and it caught my attention immediately. This is from Ben Zeisloft from today. You'll remember that Biden and the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, have been talking about raising corporate taxes to pay for the massive spending that they want to do. In fact, I have a story coming up that I'll have to pull up from the Daily Wire. I wasn't able to grab it before the song ended, but a story that I saw earlier today about some massive, massive government outlays for education, basically paying people to become teachers. Basically, that's what it boils down to. Also, giving away huge amounts of money to HBCUs and a metric that is actually a big loser. And I'll show you more about that when we get to it. But one of the things about raising the corporate tax is, as Obama found out, you raise the corporate tax and businesses move. They go to where the corporate taxes are lower. And as I've often stated, Ireland is a great example. Ireland turned into a manufacturing and corporate powerhouse on the world stage because of Obama's tax raises. Ireland has a notoriously low corporate tax rate, and companies flooded there. Abbott Laboratories built a couple of pharmaceutical plants there. They have a big headquarters there, if I'm not mistaken. A number of other companies also fled to Ireland and are absolutely reaping in the rewards. Now, Trump enticed a lot of that back. You remember he had the safe haven, if you will, for bringing money back from overseas accounts. And he pulled $1 trillion of offshore money back into the U.S. economy by doing that. No one has ever done that before. No one. It was a brilliant move. It just absolutely blew up the economy because it freed up a lot of investment capital, money that wasn't there before. It was a brilliant move. Biden is just the opposite. Him and Janet Yellen went to punish American corporations. And as we all know, corporations don't, pardon me, I kicked the camera. Corporations don't pay taxes. They don't. They pass any cost increases on to the consumer. You'll have noticed with inflation the way it is now, especially with fuel prices the way they are now, everything is going up. I know lumber has finally started to come back down. The supply chain's catching up with the demand. But look at bacon, look at beef, steak in particular, look at hamburger buns, things like that. The items that the Biden White House did not put in that picture of the great 4th of July spread that would cost you 16 cents less than it would have this time last year when there was hardly anything in the production pipeline. Notice my favorite part of that was that they didn't have hamburgers or hot dogs. Because if you had hamburgers, you'd have to have hamburger buns. And both of those are more expensive. If you had hot dogs, you would also have to have hot dog buns. And hot dogs and hot dog buns are more expensive. So instead, they had ground beef as the meat course for your Thanksgiving meal. Seriously, ground beef. You're supposed to sit there and shovel in a bunch of ground beef into your mouth on the 4th of July so you can save 16 cents. Also, potato salad, I found out, was not in that basket. So, and potato salad is also up. Stevie Bananas says in the YouTube chat 17 cents. Interesting. 17 cents. I could have sworn it was 16 cents. Interesting. Excuse me just a moment. Hey, sweetie. Can you grab that drink? Sorry, I had to yell at Picasso Notes to bring me a drink. I ran out of tea all of a sudden. I thought I had more left. That's the thing about drinking out of a Yeti. They are so heavy. It's hard to gauge just how much liquid you've got left unless you slosh it around. And good afternoon, JF. So nice to see you. Skullcram mentions that DeLoreans were built in Ireland because of the low taxes. Thank you. And ketchup was also on short supply last year. That's right. I forgot about that. Ketchup was on short supply. Good call, sir. Good call. Steve Bananas says in the YouTube chat that they ate coleslaw and potato salad. There you go. There you go. I am a fan of the creamy coleslaw. Not so much a fan of the vinegary kind, although I will eat it. But I like a lot of caraway seeds in my coleslaw. A lot of them. They make it all the better for me. Oh, Stevie Bananas gives me the reason for the 17 cents. I gotcha. Thank you, sir. Okay, so anyway, corporate tax rates. Corporations don't pay taxes. They pass that on to the consumer. Raised prices, they pass that on to the consumer. You'll also notice that there are certain items that companies are talking about making smaller. And they were already smaller to begin with, and now they're going to make them even more smaller, or they're going to give you less of them. I believe chocolate chip cookies, for instance, was one of those. Stainless steel is very heavy, Stevie Bonanza. It is indeed. But So the Biden administration, again through and with Janet Yellen, I want to say Janet Yellen. Janet Yellen, the head of the Treasury, who used to be the head of the Fed at one time, they want to propose, they have proposed, they want to put into in effect a global minimum corporate tax rate. By doing that, they would keep countries from underbidding other countries, like I just talked about with Ireland. If there was a minimum corporate tax rate across the board, then that would avoid what Yellen refers to as the race to the bottom, which is, of course, a bizarre and unscientific concept. If you can afford to lower your tax rates to a certain point, then you should. That takes the onus off of the businesses, and it also takes a lot of pressure off the consumer. It's win-win. You certainly need a certain tax rate to bring in monies for government functions, but most governments are so over-bloated to begin with, you could cut tax rates in half and probably wind up increasing government efficiency. Something I would love to see, and probably never will live to see, however. Well, I talked about the global minimum tax when they first mentioned it. And I said flat out, best of luck. Because countries like Ireland, like Vietnam, they do not want to have a tax rate as high as Europe, as high as the US. That would starve their businesses. And I said, people are not going to sign on to this thing. You're going to be on your own. And I was right. I was right. Now, I'm certainly not the only person who said this. It's not like I was standing alone in the woods screaming my head off. That was a common refrain. But it is, in fact, the case. I've got this article, again, from the Daily Wire by Ben Zeisloft. Countries begin to reject Biden's global minimum tax. And there are 9 countries, smaller nations, who are rejecting the deal. They are Barbados, Estonia, Hungary, Ireland, Kenya, Nigeria, Sri Lanka, St. Vincent, Peru, and the Grenadines. Resistance from Estonia, Hungary, and Ireland may pose an especially significant threat to the deal, as the EU requires unanimous consent for its adoption. Bada bing, folks. Bada bing. Remember, when Brexit happened, Ireland famously stayed in the EU. They had their chance to bail, and they decided not to. So, Ireland right there, knowing that its business survival hinges on keeping its corporate tax rate as low as it is, no way they're going to go for a minimum rate. No way. For the obvious reason, it would make them no less attractive or no more attractive than any other country. So people would look at things like supply chains. Because, of course, with Ireland, everything has to be flown in and out. You can't, or taken out by ship. There's no land connection between Ireland and the mainland UK. Or wait a minute, right? Yeah, that's right. Hang on a second. My geography just suddenly fled my mind. Give me just a second. Ireland is a. Yeah, it is an island. Okay, honestly, I suddenly forgot whether or not Ireland was an island or not, even though the name Ireland means island. I mean, sorry about that. This is what happens when you have brain damage, folks. You can't trust yourself. But, so, quoting Fox Business, pardon me, quoting Pascal Donohoe, Minister of Finance for Ireland, Ireland has expressed our broad support for the agreement on Pillar 2, but noting our reservation about the proposal for a global minimum effective tax rate of at least 15%. As a result of this reservation, Ireland is not in a position to join the consensus. Ireland has a 12.5% corporate tax rate. Finance ministers for Hungary and Estonia, which have corporate tax rates of 9% and 14% to 20% respectively, issued similar statements. Now, in keeping with what I said about lowering tax rates, making things actually more efficient, let me read you this last paragraph. For the past half century, many small nations have therefore cut taxes in order to rise out of poverty. The United Arab Emirates, which has a tax burden that amounts to only 0.1% of total domestic income, saw its economy multiply by a factor of 36 since 1971. Meanwhile, South Korea fostered its citizens' entrepreneurial spirit through ample educational opportunities and a sound legal system over the past several decades, even as their North Korean neighbors continue to live in destitution. There you have it. There you have it. I knew it was a stupid idea, and obviously, it's not going to happen. There's no way Ireland's going to change its mind on this. Certainly not Hungary or Estonia. Certainly not. So moving right along. So we had the Babylon Bee bit about Kamala, and this is interesting. More and more is coming out about how unpopular she is in the Democrat Party and how woefully ineffective she is as a politician. Also as a boss. We saw that story last week. A story from Politico, no less, about how there is a lot of infighting and backbiting going on between staff members of Harris's office. According to those who were quoted anonymously, of course anonymously, Harris makes capricious decisions, doesn't keep people informed of what's going on, and her chief of staff is prone to throwing junior staffers under the bus for things that she or Harris does wrong and not taking responsibility for their actions. Case in point, the El Paso trip. Hardly anyone below the chief of staff line at Harris's office knew that she was going to El Paso. So there was basically no ground preparation whatsoever. There was a crappy airport tarmac news conference where Harris was introduced by the only Democrat on the southern border who likes her, and that's the representative for the Congress from El Paso, because there is no border crisis in El Paso, and there's no border crisis in El Paso because El Paso has a great wall. El Paso used to have a border crisis, and then they built the wall. Suddenly, no more border crisis. It all moved west to Del Rio, to Uvalde, to the Rio Grande Valley, the RGV. Stevie Banana says in the YouTube chat she is the head of the snake, the Fed, the snake. Janet Yellen, I guess you're talking about. Yeah. But I'll get to that in a moment, Dog. I talked about that a little yesterday, so I'm glad you're talking about that. Hope maybe I'll find more on it in a second. The chat in D-Light's going on about the Keystone XL and some news on that right now. Excuse me just a moment. Could have sworn I sent the Trovo notification. Interesting. But airport news conference with a jet engine running just feet away. Barely hear anyone talk. And she was only there for 2 hours. She basically never left the airport. So it was a border visit in name only. Now, keeping on this theme about the border and Harris, she's been talking about how she is going to cure the root cause of the problem. So far, she's been to Guatemala and Mexico. She hasn't been to El Salvador. She hasn't been to Honduras. Why not? They're sending just as many people. She hasn't been to Nicaragua or Venezuela yet either. Neither country would probably let her land. Hey, Twin Crier, and 46 and 2. So nice to have you both. For those of you who came in late, just so you know, this is going to be a very, very disjointed news rodeo. I had a lot of things I had to do in Far Cry 5 earlier. I just don't have enough time in the day to get everything ready for the final battle that I would like to do. Things that I can't do during live gameplay because they're just so boring and tedious, like catching fish and driving all over the place. It's not going to be the most polished news rodeo you've ever seen, but I will do my best to at least keep it interesting. Just wanted to give you an idea of what's going on right now. But now we all knew when Harris got picked to be the VP running mate for Biden last year that she was going to be a disaster. She's a terrible politician. She can't think on her feet. She is not likable. She had everything going against her except the fact that she's black and a woman, because those are exactly what the traits Biden was looking for in a running mate. That's the only qualifications he ever gave. I need someone who's black and a woman. And he looked at some real winners too. But he wound up with Harris, who was basically the least horrible choice. Because the others were either Marxists or bomb throwers, like Cori Bush. And Alicia Bottoms, she's the mayor of Atlanta, right? Alicia Bottoms. She is a disaster. She's run that city into the ground. There was that congressperson out of California. Can't remember her name now. She's a huge Castro supporter, big old time communist. So yeah, all he had was that. You know, I just realized. Oh my God! I just realized that my title says no show today. Oh my God! Folks, that's how crazy my day has been. I literally forgot that I had said there would not be a show today. Oh well, you guys are here. My apologies, my sincerest apologies. Like I said, it's been an absolute crap of the day. But see, where was I? Harris. Oh yeah, Harris had to leave the primary before there was one vote cast. She left in December of 2019. December. She ran out of money. She had her staff was bickering with each other left and right. One of her state coordinators quit and just absolutely blasted the campaign head office for the way they were running things. It was a complete disaster. And remember, the only traction she got was when she called Biden a racist. That was it. That was her moment in the sun. She also was asked about Biden's sexual improprieties charges against him for various things. And she said, when asked, should he drop out of the race, she said, well, that's a decision that should be left up to him. That's his decision to make. So she didn't even say, well, we need due process or anything like that. She just hung that albatross around his neck, too. Justifiable Freedom says in the DLive chat that there was an administrative staff internal memo, quoting it, keep the APU running. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with aircraft, an APU is the auxiliary power unit. And I talked about this the other day. Those are basically small jet engines. They run on jet fuel, and they spin a turbine, and that runs a generator. Normal electrical power on an aircraft is powered by the engines, because the turning of the engine shafts is taken, some of that power is taken off via gears and other shafts, and it turns generators. Normally aircraft have at least 2 generators. Some have 3. But every aircraft has an APU, at least any of any size. Smaller non-jets, like business jets or helicopters, things like that. They don't have APUs. But big jets have auxiliary power units, and they're jet engines, but they're not muffled. They are not quote-unquote high bypass engines like the ones you see on modern jet airliners. And the reason those are quieter than the old jets is because there is a huge column of cooler air that surrounds the hot jet exhaust. Remember, noise is caused by the expansion of air. That's why lightning is so loud, because the air expands suddenly. That's what noise is, just the expansion of air. And APUs are incredibly loud because it is just a straight exhaust. All that hot gas, boom, just going straight out the pipe. And so, yeah, JP4, right? Well, I think JP4 is performance aircraft, jet fuel. I know that the SR-71 used a different type of jet fuel. I think it was JP7. It had a very specific jet fuel, but it could be JP4. You're right. I think you're right. But so like Justifiable Freedom says in the DLF chat that they're supposed to keep the APU running. Okay, that makes sense because that keeps Harris from having to make long answers and keeps the press down to a minimum. They don't want to stand out on the tarmac for any length of time because they're going deaf. An APU runs over 100 decibels, folks. I mean, you stand close enough to one, it's as loud as a machine gun going off next to your head. But so that's Harris in a nutshell. And now we've got this article. Also, I'm pulling up articles as I go, so they're going to be in crazy order. But this is again from the Daily Wire by Joseph Curl. And quoting the headline, "She's effing up. Democrats reportedly worried Kamala Harris can't beat any Republican in 2024, including Trump." And this is from Axios. Let me go ahead and pull up the actual Axios story. I like to use the original articles whenever possible. So according to Axios, it says Biden aide charges sabotage of Harris. Let's see here. So we got some bullet points here. White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain told Axios in a statement, quote, "The president's trust and confidence in her," meaning Harris, "is obvious when you see them in the Oval Office together." Biden senior advisor Cedric Richmond said in an interview late Thursday night, quote, "It's a whisper campaign designed to sabotage her." And this is, of course, all in reference to the Politico article. But here's some bullet points. Some White House officials have been frustrated by a series of missteps from Harris and increasingly public bickering in her orbit, which spilled out into a political story on Wednesday. Flournoy's old boss, Flournoy being Harris's chief of staff, Tina Flournoy, former President Bill Clinton, came to her defense with a statement calling her an extraordinary person. So here are some problems with 2024 on the Democrat side. An operation sometimes visibly out of sync with Biden's, and missteps during a recent trip to the U.S.-Mexico border following a scrutinized interview with NBC's Lister Holt have reignited questions from Harris's 2020 primary bid. Harris would be the presumptive nominee if Biden didn't run. Administration sources believe it would be nearly impossible to unseat the first black woman vice president. Let me interject for a second here. Sticks Hexenhammer 666. If you're not following him on BitChute, then just walk away from the channel right now and do it. Sticks with a Y. Sticks, S-T-Y-X. Hex and Hammer, H-E-X, Hammer. Hex and Hammer 666. Just type in BitChute Sticks, B-I-T-C-H-U-T, BitChute Sticks into any search engine, S-T-Y-X, and you'll find him. He does 4 videos a day, sometimes 5. Only 2 of them appear on his YouTube channel. He does the good stuff on separate platforms, and he has a number of different platforms. But he has great insight into a lot of stories. His pieces are short, 5-6 minutes, sometimes 7, but they're all great, very pithy, very smart. He could be a real strong governor someday. Really could. He would be an excellent governor. But he did a piece just the other day on the top 4 potential 2024 Dem candidates, and it was Biden, Joe Kennedy, honestly, yes, Joseph Kennedy, Harris, and Amy Klobuchar. Now, you guys remember from last year, I said that if Biden had picked Klobuchar to be VP, it would be a runaway come November. Now, obviously, November happened in a way none of us expected. But enough of that. I'm on YouTube, of course. But where was I? YouTube Harris. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I interrupted myself. I get mad at Picasso when she interrupts me, and I interrupted myself. Klobuchar, yeah. I thought she would be unbeatable on the ticket. Now, would she have another shot at president? I could see them getting behind her. I could see that. She didn't do badly in the primaries. She didn't do great. She had a decent Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. She had a pretty good Iowa, which is important. That's something you can hang your hat on. And she checks the box of womanhood, so that would make her very, very attractive. But Sticks did talk about Harris, and he's listing a lot of the things that I'm listing right now. Quoting the article, yet many Democrats, including some current senior administration officials, are concerned Harris could not defeat whomever the Republican Party puts up, even if it were Donald Trump. One Democratic operative tells Axios' Alania Trine, that most Democrats aren't saying, quote, oh no, our heir apparent is effing up, what are we going to do now? It's more that people think, oh, she's effing up, maybe she shouldn't be the heir apparent. Some Democrats close to the White House are increasingly concerned about Harris's handling of high-profile issues and political tone deafness and question her ability to maintain the coalition that Biden rode to the White House, sources tell Axios' Hans Nichols. So, some bullet points about relations between the West Wing and the VP's office, described as tense in this article. Several admin officials used S-show when describing Harris's office and contrast her operations with disciplined, virtually leak-proof Biden aides. Also, some Biden officials view the Harris operation as poorly managed and staffed with people who don't have long-term relationships with her. That is a point I've heard before, that Harris's staff was hand-picked, but not by her. She only had a few people that she brought in, Simone Sanders being one of them. Simone Sanders is of course, Harris's chief spokesperson. Simone Sanders is known affectionately across the internet as King Hippo. If you've never seen her, you'll understand as soon as you catch her on screen. But she's also a really, really horrible person. Simone Sanders lies through her teeth constantly. And I know press secretaries are supposed to do that, but with Simone Sanders, it's the kind of lying that makes you grind your teeth. It is so blatantly in your face, gaslighting. It's the kind of gaslighting that you would expect if the person was using a flamethrower to propel the gas. Land of 420 says in the Trovo chat, Kamala Harris is a member of sorority Appa Kappa Alpha. Major red flag, knowing nothing else about her. I'm not familiar with the Greek life. I thought about pledging, but I was too lazy. Never thought about how to get into it. I did stalk the men's gymnastic team in college for a little while, my freshman year. I wanted to join their frat, but I was too stupid and too timid to figure out how. So I just stalked them for a while. I'd show up at their practices and sit way up high in the rafters. I was a really pathetic human being back in those days. Very pathetic human being. But that's what happens when you're just thrown out into the world without being taught anything except how to eat. And even then you weren't fed all the time. But enough about my childhood. Quoting one more bullet point here. Some Biden officials view the Harris operation as poorly managed and staffed with people who don't have long-term relationships with her. They feel she's gotten bad advice from her press and communications shop and think it's telling that she's already lost 2 advance aides and a digital director. Let me look at a little more here. So that's basically it. That's basically it. It's interesting though. Let me read the one last part of this. This is these are statements from one of the White House flacks. His last name's Richmond. I can't remember his first name, but let's listen to this. Quote: "Not one named person. That's what bothers me most. We're in a day where the stakes are high. You just hope if there's a legitimate criticism, they'd put their name next to it." I don't remember any of these people complaining about anonymous leaks during the Trump administration. In fact, I remember them taking every one of them word for word as being the God's honest truth. That's how I remember it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not remembering it as well as I should. I don't know. But it seems to me that's been the case. This frame's a little off there. So yeah, so that's all about Harris. Let's move to another article I've got pulled up, and then we'll go digging around some more. Oh, I wanted to get back to the D-Live chat. You guys were talking about the Keystone Pipeline. Now you are right. That I put that, Ray. I put no show today on every channel, So it's not your fault. It's my fault. So yeah, Electric Dog has the quote about Biden being sued for $15 billion in damages over the Keystone XL pipeline. I covered that story yesterday, as a matter of fact, and that TC, the Canadian company that is in charge of that is the progenitor of the Keystone XL pipeline. They are suing under the legacy clause from the NAFTA agreement, because Keystone XL was initially approved under NAFTA, and when Trump and Canada and Mexico negotiated the USMCA, there were certain aspects of NAFTA that were left in place. And the Keystone XL pipeline's permission to build through America, that was part of that legacy. So that's what they're suing under. All right. So a little COVID news here. Again, the show's completely mixed up because I just had no time for it today, and I apologize immensely. I would not be at all immune to you guys just bailing on me. But I have an article here from one of my favorite sources, the Epoch Times. It's, of course, from their Premier section. I tend to only use the articles from the Premier section since the regular section is available to everyone. I try to use the sources that I get that are specific to our subscriptions. So there are certain Daily Wire articles, for instance, that are not available unless you have something akin to at least the Reader's Pass, which is their lowest level of membership, which I highly recommend, by the way. If you can't afford a yearly membership to the Daily Wire, which I can't laud highly enough, they have an incredible array of shows, but their Reader's Pass is well worth the money. You get access to all the articles on the news site, and you don't have to look at ads. So it's really, really very, very worthwhile. But this caught my eye as I was yanking things off the internet while the song was playing. Have a Florida man filing a lawsuit against the CDC's mask mandate, and he is taking it to the Supreme Court. Lucas Wall appealed to the court on Tuesday and named the CDC, President Biden, and other federal agencies as defendants in the case. Previously, he filed a lawsuit against 7 airlines and alleged they engaged in discrimination against flyers who could not wear face masks due to medical reasons. Quoting Wall, "This court has issued at least 5 emergency injunctive orders in the past 7 months, unequivocally holding that governments may not restrict First Amendment rights even in the name of fighting a pandemic." Now Wall wants the court to rule on whether other constitutional rights, quote, "can't be suspended by the federal defendants because of COVID-19. Wall was ejected from the Orlando International Airport last month because he wasn't wearing a mask. In his previous lawsuit, Wall said he has a generalized anxiety disorder, and that makes it not possible to follow what he called a, quote, improper, illegal, and unconstitutional, unquote, mask mandate. So Wall filmed this when he was being ejected from the airport. And on the recording, he says, quote, I can't wear a mask because of my anxiety. I will not wear a mask. I cannot wear a mask because of my breathing difficulties. TSA agents still refused to allow him to enter without a mask, even after he showed them his COVID-19 vaccination card. So he's already taken it up to a Florida district court, and the 11th Circuit also declined to hear his case. Wall's lawsuit also stipulated that he has been stuck at his mother's home in Florida for months because he is not allowed to fly without a mask. I mean, the guy gets panic attacks, for crying out loud. And I understand completely. And Laura Weekly says perfectly in the D-Live chat, the masks aren't for health reasons, they're anti-health. I'm probably going to get kicked off YouTube for saying that. But God bless us all. It has to be said. It has been shown that masks, at least in the case of children, are more harmful than helpful. It's been shown. There are studies all over the place that show that. I understand that a mask worn by someone who's symptomatic helps, because they sneeze and they cough, and it keeps the droplets, as Fauci would say, the droplets. It keeps the droplets from spraying all over the place. It filters down quite a bit. Doesn't stop everything, but it stops the big stuff. That's all masks are designed to do, is stop the big stuff. But God bless this guy. I hope he's able to come around. Now, I do have to mention, he says he has generalized anxiety disorder. Maybe he should apply for the CIA. It seems to be one of their main hiring criteria. All right, that's all of the prepared articles I have. I'm just going to dig around. Again, you guys, this is the worst news rodeo I've ever put together. So if you get tired of my complete and utter failure to provide you a proper show, I completely understand if you run away. Let's take a look a little further at the premium section of the Epoch Times. Oh, wait. There was a Daily Wire story I wanted to show you. I forgot all about it. Hang on just a second. Here it is. I saw this article this morning, and I absolutely lost my S. This, basically, if you read this in full, this article basically explains how Biden wants to give out hundreds of billions of dollars to people to become teachers without any requirements for future performance. And it also takes away academic requirements for certain grants, all in the name of equity. So basically what they're doing is they're saying, here, go to school on us, become a teacher, and have at it. Now let me give you a few of the things they're going to do here. First is the TEACH program, Teacher Education Assistance for College and Higher Education. It provides tuition breaks for students obtaining degrees in education who commit to teaching in, quote, high-need fields and underserved schools for 4 years after graduation. Okay. There is a similar program for medical school. You can apply for these grants. They'll help you with your medical school tuition, and after you graduate, you have to go to an underserved community as a general practitioner or whatever for a period of years. I believe it's 3 years. So you go to a small town, go to rural Appalachia, whatever, set up shop, become a internist, whatever, and for so many years, and you get breaks on your loans. Now the thing is, especially with the TEACH grant program, if you don't complete the 4 years in a quote-unquote underserved and high-need field, then those grants turn into unsecured loans, and you're on the hook for the money and interest. So first off, what this administration wants to do, and it's supported by the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, they want to increase the annual grant amount for the 3rd and 4th year students to $8,000 as opposed to the original $4,000. So right there, boom, double the money. Also, there will be no GPA requirements. So you can be flunking out of school, maintaining a D average, and you still get your grants as long as you're enrolled. So you're basically you can make it impossible for you to graduate with enough of a GPA to look good to any type of school who's going to hire you, or to even be prepared to teach at a high level, with no penalty whatsoever regarding your grants. And again, this is in the name of equity. Instead of making people perform to a high standard, you just get rid of the standard. All of this is in the name of dumbing down America. They want to make Americans weak and dependent upon the government. They want to turn us into serfs. Period. They want to turn us into serfs. They're just handing out money left and right. I saw a story, I may not be able to find it, that there are a number of people, thousands of people, who are suing state governments for cutting off the federal unemployment early. Even though there are literally millions of jobs out there that are unfilled, and employers are handing out huge bonuses for people just to show up for an interview, even fill out an application. Hundreds of dollars, $1,000 in some places, just to come in for an interview. And people are suing because they're not getting their extra federal bennies. This is what America's turning into under this administration. And it's happening at breakneck speed. Now, this isn't all. The plan also includes an additional $2.8 billion in investment in programs such as, quote, year-long paid teacher residency programs, close quote. This administration claims that will help enroll more, quote, teacher candidates of color and will have a greater impact on teacher retention. A year-long paid teacher residency program is basically, here, take this money and hang around. It's a free vacation, a year-long free vacation. Scully says in the chat, the DLOT chat, that quote unquote poopy pants ran from the press today, and it was a pretty funny run too. Well, he can't walk. I mean, look at the way he walks. It's like he's got glass in his shoes. He's obviously, he has balance troubles. Just watching him fall upstairs, falling upstairs, folks. Do you know how hard that is? That takes effort. That takes a lot of effort. So, continuing. The administration claims that these requirement changes are, quote, expected to increase the number of recipients by more than 50% to nearly 40,000 in 2022. Oh, great. We're going to have 40,000 teachers doing nothing for a year and being paid full boat for it. on our money. These are our tax dollars. Heck, they aren't even our tax dollars. Those aren't even close to being enough to pay for all this. They're just printing money. They're stealing money from you right now. Every second that goes by, the Fed is stealing money from you. And again, I'm not an investment counselor. I'm not giving you investment advice. But I am bullish on gold and Bitcoin because of that. They've both taken it in the teeth recently. Gold was up around 1,900 an ounce. Now it's barely below 1,800. It slid considerably. And Bitcoin obviously fell all the way from 64,000 to 34,000, 35,000 today. So they don't look good on paper. But in my opinion, again, my opinion, not my professional advice, there is nothing but an upside to gold and Bitcoin. And remember, you don't have to buy a Bitcoin. You don't have to have $34,000. You can buy fractions. You can buy 1,000th of a Bitcoin with no trouble whatsoever. It's very easy to set up an account. There are a number of services out there. Coinbase is interesting. You can even buy Bitcoin on Robinhood. I don't recommend it, though, because you can't put it in a wallet like you can on Coinbase, as I understand it. With Robinhood, if you own Bitcoin through them, they have control of it. So if something happens to Robinhood, you're going to lose your Bitcoin. They did not have, at least a month ago, 2 months ago, they did not have the ability to transfer Bitcoin you bought through them to a wallet. So just to let you know. That's not readily apparent in their terms of service, by the way. So, there are those breaks. Now there's more. Alongside tuition breaks, the Biden administration's plan will put $400 million towards, quote, teacher preparation at historically black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs, and tribal colleges and universities. The administration's plan will continue to subsidize HBCUs despite their graduates' poor loan repayment rate. Now, I have no problem supporting HBCUs on the whole, but I'm really not a fan of the federal government putting any money into any higher education institution aside from research grants through like the National Academy for the Sciences, things like that. Those I go along with. Of course, some of those research grants are insane. Finding out if birds will mate while on cocaine. Things like that. They actually give out money for stuff like that. But there is a piece of news, piece of information in this article regarding HBCUs that I had never heard before. And it's quite eye-opening. The Wall Street Journal reported that federal data found that black students who attend HBCUs were more likely to default on student loans than black students who attend other public or nonprofit colleges. The Daily Caller reported that most graduates of black colleges owed more in student loans 12 years after college than they did following graduation, despite the perception that receiving a bachelor's degree decreases a graduate's debt load. So for those of you who may be having a little trouble with the arithmetic, let me put it in more simple terms. They are not paying on the loan to the point where the interest is overtaking their payments. They aren't even making minimum payments to service the interest. So in other words, I would say the vast percentage of them aren't paying anything at all. They're just walking away from the loan, which is another problem I have with the federal government because it is subsidizing these student loans. So colleges see free money coming their way. They raise rates, create gender studies programs, struggle study programs, create offices for diversity and inclusion, paying these people hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to do nothing. And then the federal government says, oh, look, college costs went up. Here's more money. Obama himself said we can't keep giving away more money because it just keeps raising college costs. And then 10 minutes later, in that same speech, he said, so since college costs are rising, we're going to increase the amount of funds available for the student loan program. In the same speech. Give me a quote here. This is Zakiya Smith Ellis, a higher education advisor to President Barack Obama. She called the discovery close, quote, the most shocking data of my career. We like to think of bachelor degrees as the holy grail. The Biden plan also aims to reduce the payment burden for Teach Grant recipients who do not complete the requirements. Now remember, they've already made it to where they're doubling the amount of money for the third and fourth years. And they've taken away the GPA requirements. So again, you can be barely passing your classes, being the worst teacher possible as far as preparation goes, and they're going to keep paying you. But remember, 4 years, right? 4 years at a high needs, underserved system. No, look at this. If grant recipients did not complete the mandated 4 years of coursework and 4 years of serving needy communities, but previously their grants were converted into unsubsidized loans that recipients had to repay in full. Educators were given 120 days to certify that they were teaching at an underserved school following graduation. Under the 46 asterisk administration, there is no requirement for recipients to certify their intent to teach within 120 days of graduation, and those grants will not be converted into loans. The new plan will also open a, quote, reconsideration process for any former Teach Grant recipients whose grants were converted to loans. So this is a huge payout to the teachers' unions, to the tune of billions of dollars. That's all this is. This is a payout to the teachers' unions. I mean, for crying out loud, that Teach Grant, they're doubling it. You don't have to maintain any kind of a GPA to qualify for it, and you don't have to do the work that it was designed to do, which is teach in a high needs, underserved community. So it's basically a giveaway program. Oh, you're going to be a teacher? Here's $8,000 a year for 2 years. And don't worry about paying it back. There's no GPA requirement, by the way. Just go ahead and get D's across the board. That we're fine with that. No problem at all. And if you are a current part of the program who didn't follow the rules, and your grant was converted into a loan, we'll look at that. And if you're of a certain color, we'll probably just waive it, make it go away in the name of equity. Laura Weekly says in the D-Live chat, the teachers' unions are Antifa. It is for them and their chaos. I agree completely. 46 and 2. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just saw your chat. Yeah, I did say no show today. I lied. That's the only way I can put it. I lied. I didn't think I'd be able to do a show. So I put that up there. And then as soon as the music started, I started pulling a show together because I forgot what I said. Honestly, I forgot what I put in the title a minute previously. That's how screwed up my brain is. So that's money going towards future teachers union members that are going to increase the amount of money that the Democrat Party gets because there will be more teachers, more union members. This is why there shouldn't be such a thing as public sector unions. Period. If you work for the government, I don't think you should get a pension at all. I don't think the president should get a pension. I don't think Congress critters should get a pension. I don't believe federal employees should get a pension. Because it's not money that they're generating. It's money that they're taking. They can save up. They can have an IRA. They can buy gold or Bitcoin. They can get in the stock market. Social Security is a joke anyway. No one in their right mind thinks they're going to be able to live on Social Security come a certain age. I don't see it as being fair. I don't see why the taxpayers should subsidize the retirement of people that we're paying huge money to begin with. I just don't get it. I understand why they're doing it, but it totally ticks me off. All right, let's move along. Let's go to the Daily Caller, see what they've got there. Okay, we talked about oil. Oil actually went down a little bit today. Okay, there's an article about the latest ransomware attack. According to Biden, it's done minimal damage, and he is quote unquote confident in the U.S. government's ability to respond. The Russia-based hacking group Reveal claimed responsibility for widespread ransomware attacks against hundreds of U.S. companies and more than 1,000 companies worldwide on Friday. Reporters present asked whether the attack rose to the level of requiring U.S. retaliation. Biden warned Putin back in June that the U.S. would be forced to respond if ransomware attacks continue originating in the country. The administration reportedly does not consider the Friday attack to be evidence that Putin ignored the warning. However, officials are waiting 6 months to see whether Russian ransomware incidents begin to decrease. Ha! The Reveal hacking group has demanded $70 million in exchange for a decryption key that would unlock data for affected companies. The group's attack centered on the Kaisia Corporation, a company that provides software to companies across the globe. Roughly 1,500 of its client companies have been affected by the attack. So there it is. Okay, Russia, we're putting you on notice. No more ransomware attacks. Certainly not against these 16 outlets, these 16 infrastructure things. You know, definitely not those. Oh, wait, you just had another Russia hacking firm attack thousands of companies via their software? Well, we said we'd wait 6 months. What the hell does that mean? We're going to wait 6 months to see if they decrease? In 6 months, they could take over half the world. What is this 6 months crap? I thought the Democrats were tough on Russia. Remember, Hillary said that an electronic attack by Russia, she would consider that an act of war. She said that during the campaign in 2016. That a cyber attack by Russia, she would consider an act of war. I remember that specifically. In fact, I remember it very well because that was the first time my dad pulled the, whoa, what about, on me. Because I was on Twitter at the time. And I saw that quote on Twitter, and I typed in, Hillary has the coordinates to the Russian hacking farm. The Titan missiles are on, the Polaris missiles are on their way. Okay, not that funny, but I put it out there anyway. Told my dad that. Thought, hey, this is funny. Hey, Dad, I said this thing about what Hillary said. He gets real pissy, turns away from me, and says, if you're going to talk about that, then we'll talk about Trump. Go ahead. That's what I said. Go ahead. I don't care. That's the sense of humor my dad has. Ugh. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up my dad, but that happened regarding Russian attacks. So that's where that came from. All right, moving right along. Remember, this is the guy who stopped talking to me because I said that Tim Pool was better than Don Lemon. So there's that. Oh, good. The post-millennium has a new Hunter Biden story. This is good. I don't know if I can read this on YouTube, but what the heck. This is from last night, again from the post-millennium. We're subscribed. Hunter Biden wanted prostitutes to unionize. Proposed rating system for pimps. Texts from 2018 and 2019 show that Hunter spent thousands of dollars per session with prostitutes in cities around the country. President Biden's son also admitted to engaging in extensive dealings with strippers and found exotic dancers intelligent, motivated, and, quote, business savvy, a 14-minute tape recording revealed. I will say, for the most part, strippers are very smart people in certain ways. Some of them are actually putting themselves through college. It is a thing. It's a truism. It is a stereotype, but that's because it's true. It does happen. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't. I'm pretty much libertarian when it comes to stuff like that. But the good strippers, the ones who really know how to work, are the ones who reel in the whales, they call them. It's kind of a common parlance in the shady part of society, the whales. The whales are the big spenders who will buy you a whole new house full of furniture, will buy you a car, will put you up in a condo because you pay attention to them. That's it. That's it. And smart strippers don't have sex with whales. They just tempt them. They dangle them along. And there are a lot of whales out there. These are guys who are lonely, who will do anything for attention from a beautiful woman, and pay through the nose for it. I have a friend, I haven't talked to her in over a year, my fault, not hers, who used to be a major stripper. She worked all over the country, big clubs. And she told me about some of the whales she'd pulled in. One guy had her in a penthouse in New Orleans for a year while she was going to nursing school on the side. Yeah. So strippers are very cunning in that regard. I'm not saying they're all Mensa members, but they are very cunning, the good ones. So I can see how Hunter would appreciate that. Hunter Biden being basically a stripper as well. But instead of looking good naked on stage, his CV looks good because it has the name Biden on it. But they're basically the same thing. Skullcram brings up The Happy Hooker. I forgot all about... I read that book. Oh, shoot. Erica Jong, right? Or no, Erica Jong was... I think it was Erica Jong who wrote The Happy Hooker. I know there was another famous female-centric sex novel out there that was written by Erica Jong. She's the one who came up with the phrase, the zipless F. But maybe I'm mixing up my authors. But so let's get into this some more. Hunter touted the prospective union for strippers and prostitutes as an organization that would be, quote, running the largest union in the country, close quote. On March 2nd, 2019, Hunter theorized that sex workers should have establishment protection while he was conversing with an employee from the LA-based hotel Chateau Marmont, a Hollywood hotspot located on Sunset Boulevard. Chateau Marmont, of course, being worldwide famous for being the place where John Belushi died. That's where John Belushi's fatal drug overdose took place, was at one of the chalets at Chateau Marmont. Just a little bit of trivia for you there. Hunter proposed, quote, "You organize without even organizing in any traditional way. If you want to advertise legally, you go through the unions of which you're a member. Your dues are the fees that you pay for advertising. Whomever does this first will be running the largest union in the country." The hotel employee laughed, replying, "Haha, that's actually pretty genius." There's more that I can't read on YouTube. But yeah, so that's a thing with Hunter. That's a thing. All right, so what have we got here? Breaking. Biden checks notes before answering question on latest ransomware attack. As he ended his short speech, he answered only one question from the press, which was in regards to the latest attack. All right, let's take a look at what we've got here. Watch your ears. I'm going into this cold, so I can't guarantee the sound will be right. I have it cranked up a little bit. Oh God, the song must have been horribly loud for you guys. I didn't realize how much the mixer was turned up today. My bad. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we've got here. Let me wind it back up.
On the latest ransomware attack, can you tell us if you believe that rises to the level of U.S. retaliation?
I can tell you a couple things.
All right, let me turn it up. He's pretty. The volume was up all the way, right? Yeah, it is all up all the way. Let me crank it up a bit. So the question was about the ransomware attack, and he said, "I can tell you a couple things." Let me see. Let me put it up to 9. See if that'll do it. All right, let's try it again.
I received an update from our national security team this morning.
Nope, not good enough. Man, he is low. I hate when people don't engineer their clips well. I'm really cranking up the volume here. All right, let's try it again. Let's back it up.
On the latest ransomware attack, can you tell us if you believe that rises to the level of U.S. retaliation?
I can tell you a couple things. I received an update from our national security team this morning. It appears to have caused minimal damage to U.S. businesses, but we're still gathering information to the full extent of the attack, and I'm going to have more to say about this in the next several days. We're getting more detail and information, but that's what I can tell you now, and I feel good about our ability to deal and respond. Thank you.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I know it's easy to react to every time Biden pulls something like this as the worst moment ever. But, oh, the fear of flying. Thank you, Skullcram. Yeah, fear of flying. I appreciate that. Yes. Pilot book. Very funny, very funny. It was a good book. Xavier Hollander was the person who wrote The Happy Hooker. Thank you so much, Scully. Xaviera. No, Xaviera. I remember now. Xavier Hollander. Thank you so much. I had forgotten that name completely. But yeah, so there's Biden literally needing to read 3 sentences off of a card for something that he was just told about. Everything is prepared in advance for him. I think someone chews his food for him and then spits it into his mouth like a baby bird being fed worm mush by their mom. I bet they don't let him use a knife and fork. Now notice, let me play this back. Notice how when he stops reading and has to talk on the fly, how hard it is for him to get the sentence out. Watch this again.
In the next several days, we're getting more detail and information, but that's what I can tell you now, and I feel good about our ability to be able to respond. Thank you.
That's all I can tell you now, and I feel good about our ability to pause. I don't want to predict a time frame for when this guy gets 25th Amendment landed on him. I don't want to predict a time frame, but it can't be that far in the future. It just can't be. Now remember, he still hasn't met with Xi Jinping. He had a phone conversation with him. That's it. Hasn't met with him yet. Has yet to bring up the virus. We just found out 10 minutes ago, that he's given Russia a 6-month window to wind down ransomware attacks. 6 months. He gave Russia hundreds of billions of dollars in energy payments by letting them complete the Nord Stream 2 pipeline into Germany. The only way Russia creates hard currency is by energy. That's it. So everything Biden does to raise oil prices, that helps Russia. Everything Biden does to let Russia sell more natural gas, that helps Russia. This is the administration who promised that they were going to be tough on Russia, quote unquote, unlike Trump, even though Trump was harder on Russia than anyone else, ever. The only thing this administration has done right so far is go ahead and give the follow-through for the pipeline going through Michigan. I forgot the name of it now. I think it's the L3, the C3 pipeline. All right, how are we doing on time here? We've got a half hour left. I had no intention of being on this long. I really didn't. I completely forgot that I had planned to walk away. I love you guys too much to completely screw you over, but I'm not giving you the kind of show you deserve. All right, so let's see what we've got here on justthenews.com, another site we are subscribed to. Well, LinkedIn restored the account of the mRNA vaccine pioneer who warned about the risks associated with the vaccines in certain instances. I covered that story just the other day, where LinkedIn had removed his account. They put it back. Here's another story about Hunter. Let's see here. Hunter Biden memos call into question congressional testimony of Democrat lobbying firm. Emails state Hunter Biden met, strategized with Blue Star strategy executives who claimed they had no contact. Here's a famous picture of Obama, Biden, and Hunter back in their salad days. I believe that was an NBA game. It's an article written by the two bigwigs at justthenews.com, Seamus Bruner and John Solomon. Remember, they wrote the book together on the Russian energy scam that Hillary Clinton made happen. Great book, by the way. Great book. So let's see here. Okay, according to the article, Hunter Biden memos on a laptop recovered by the FBI directly conflict with the congressional testimony of two key executives at a Democrat-connected firm who asserted they did not deal with the current president's son while working for a Ukrainian energy firm where the younger Biden served on the board. The questions about the testimony from Blue Star strategy officials come as the Justice Department is reportedly investigating whether the firm violated the Foreign Agent Registration Act with its work contacting federal officials on behalf of Burisma. Okay, we talked about Blue Star a couple years ago on YouTube. Remember, I did that big show on all the stuff that had come out about Burisma and Hunter and Devin Archer. I covered the whole thing. I think it was about 2-3 hours worth of show. I leaned real heavily on the reporting that John Solomon had done. Electric Doug says he likes the impromptu approach. That's very kind of you, Doug. I don't know if it's fair to everyone, but that is kind of you. Thank you. I'm certainly open to suggestions. I'm here for you guys. Really, I'm here for you guys. So if you like things better or worse, let me know. I'd like to welcome Dirty Rice to the Trovo channel. Very nice to have you here. Please consider following us if you like what you see. Today's not my best day, just so you know, but I'll do what I can. Now, yeah, we talked about Blue Star quite a bit during that show. There were a number of people who were connected to high-level Democrat politicians, if I remember correctly. Their names were on Burisma payments. So let's see here. Blue Star's Karen Tramontano and Sally Painter were asked by the committee about the firm's contacts with Hunter Biden while he served on Burisma's board. Tramontano testified that, quote, "At no time did I or anyone else in the firm working on behalf of Burisma collaborate or coordinate with the development or implementation of our work with Hunter Biden. Mr. Biden played no role in Blue Star Strategy's work on behalf of Burisma." Okay, that's a quote from her congressional testimony. So the article goes on. But emails, calendar notations, and memos obtained by Just the News from the Hunter Biden laptop, now in possession of the FBI, state clearly that Hunter had direct conversations with the Blue Star team on several occasions as it was beginning its work in November and December of 2015. Those conversations included details about the Burisma Blue Star contract, as well as specific strategies, such as countering the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine's claims of corruption. Quote, "Hunter and I spoke to Sally Painter yesterday," close quote. Eric Schwerin, a close colleague of Hunter, wrote in a November 12, 2015 email that briefed a top Burisma executive about the meetings. Continuing the quote from Schwerin. "First, Hunter talked to Sally about the agreement and the desire on your part to evaluate success after 2 months and not feel locked in to the year-long contract if things weren't going well." Continuing the quote, "Sally understood and said that wasn't a problem, so you should feel free to go ahead and execute the agreement as it is written and process the first invoice." So he's basically saying, maybe things don't look so good right now. Maybe Blue Star isn't doing what they said they were going to do, but keep paying them. And if it doesn't go well, then they'll walk away from the contract you signed. Well, if that's the case, then why have a year-long contract? If you're going to base it on performance and end it, if the customer feels your performance isn't what they had expected, then why have a contract at all? That makes no sense. That makes absolutely zero sense. It sounds to me like they're stringing them along. Continuing the quote, again, this is a colleague of Hunter's, Eric Schwerin. "Second, Sally said she has already had a few meetings on Burisma's behalf and had some feedback she wanted to give us offline. She felt she had some intelligence on why the ambassador made his comments. Hunter and I are going to sit down with her on Monday and find out more." Final quote. "Third, we discussed the potential trip to Kiev in December, or Kiev, I don't care how you say it. One alternative suggestion that Sally made was for Blue Star to go alone and do some high-level government meetings in Kiev as the first step." So here's a quote from Senator Ron Johnson, my senator, my good senator. We have a crappy senator too, but we have one good senator here in Wisconsin. I'm broadcasting, for those of you new to the channel, from Kenosha, Wisconsin, the home of the August Jacob Blake riots. The town still looks like crap because of it. Not one thing's been picked up yet. I take that back. Some areas have been cleaned up, but the major arson areas have not. They still look like Beirut. Okay, so let's quote Senator Johnson. If you don't remember, he was the chairman of the committee that was investigating Biden last year and who interviewed Blue Star. So, quoting Senator Johnson, I had serious doubts that Blue Star Strategies was fully complying with the subpoena my committee issued the firm in 2020. With new documents coming to light, it appears my suspicions were well founded. Unfortunately, Democrats in the press had no interest in exploring the troubling findings Senator Grassley's and my report revealed regarding Biden Incorporated's vast web of foreign financial entanglements. Continuing the quote, there have been multiple confirmations that President Biden lied when he said he never spoke to Hunter about his overseas business activities. When will the press, Congress, and our justice system hold the Bidens accountable? The American people deserve the truth and the equal application of justice. Right now, they are getting neither. There's also calendar notations showing Biden was scheduled for conference calls with Blue Star officials. The lobbying firm directly emailed Biden the telephone call-in information. In early December 2015, a Blue Star executive wrote his firm had scored a conference call with Joe Biden's office concerning the vice president's planned trip to Kiev later that month. Keeley directly emailed the briefing memo to Hunter, with Tramontano and Painter copied. Quote, attached is a memo from the Blue Star Strategies team with the minutes of the call which outlined the trip's agenda and addressed several questions regarding U.S. policy towards Ukraine. And again, that's quoting Sean Keeley, a Blue Star executive who wrote Hunter Biden in an email dated December 2nd, 2015. There's a lot more to this. A lot more. I'll move on from here, but check out this article if you get the chance. Just go to justthenews.com. I highly suggest you subscribe to it if you have the money. It is an excellent website. We need to support this kind of journalism in the United States. We really, really need to support it as best we can. Even if you can only afford to buy the odd book uncovering certain Democrat strategies or what's going on right now. Mark Levin has a book coming out. I think it's out next week. Let's see. It says I'm pretty sure it's next week. Called American Marxism. I've been hearing a lot about it on his show. I listen to his radio show every night, and then there's also his TV show every Sunday night on Fox, starting at 7 Eastern, and 8 Eastern. And he also has his 2 or 3 times weekly show on Blaze.com, BlazeTV.com. I highly recommend that as well. But he's got a lot in that book about what's happening with the various Marxist strategies that are being laid out all over the country right now. Not just CRT, but a lot of other stuff. Believe it or not, there's also critical Latino theory. So there's a lot out there. And he goes into it in great detail. It's a very big book, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. He has sold 170,000 advanced copies, 20,000 of which are ebooks. The rest are hardcover. So they've already geared up for a second printing, even though it's yet to be released. That's never happened before, pretty much ever. Certainly didn't happen to Hunter's book. So another example of someone lying to Congress, and they will not be held accountable because they're Democrats. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Blue Star will never see an indictment for lying to Congress because Democrats control Congress and Republicans have short memories. I fully expect the Republicans to take over Congress come 2023 when they're sworn in. And I also fully expect them to let every piece of falsity presented to their committees over the last 3 years just fall by the wayside. I do not see any Republicans in enough numbers to stand up for actual equal application of the law and bring people like Blue Star to justice for lying to Congress. Yes, not as big as the big book, Ray, but it is big. Yes, it is. Moving right along. We've got time for a couple more stories. Yeah, here we go. All right, let's see here. Let's move on to, let's see if there's anything on the Reload, my favorite Second Amendment site. Pa, 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 pa. June gun sales, second best on record. June 2021 saw more than 1.2 million gun sales. That makes it the second best June on record. The month fell by about 900,000. The month fell by about 900,000 sales from the all-time record in 2020. However, it was up more than 100,000 sales from the third place mark set in 2016. Wow, wow. It's amazing there's a gap of almost 1 million firearms in 1 month. And it's still second best. So if you do the arithmetic, that means that last year, June 2020, saw 2.1 million gun sales in 1 month. And remember, folks, a large number of gun buyers since last year are first-time gun owners and liberals, a vast majority of them. So Congress critters and senators from purple states are really on the hot seat when it comes to gun control legislation. Electric Dog dubs today, surfing the web with Hat. I gotta admit, I really like that title. I really like that title. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. You know what? I can't guarantee it, but let's think about making this a regular event. Once a week. Once a week we do this. Just have an open show. I pick and choose. We talk about it. Because this way I'm able to look at the chat a lot more often, to be honest. Because I'm not under the gun to get all the stories I picked through. I do feel a lot less tense right now than I normally do during the show. Even though I am very, very tense right now because of the way today's run with Far Cry 5. And the fact that I still have hours and hours of stuff left to do before I can be ready for tomorrow. But I do have to admit, there's a lot of pressure taken off me doing it this way. But so thank you so much for the comment, Doug. For those of you new to the channel, by the way, Electric Dog in the DLAC chat is not only the king of the links, but he is also my technical producer. The reason you can hear me is because of Electric Dog. So if you ever see him on the web, send him a burger. Send the man a hamburger. He deserves it. All right. Let's move on to what used to be my #1 source for the news, the Bongino Report. This is a great news collator. It has replaced Drudge Report as the best news collator on the planet. Bar none, period. BonginoReport.com. BONGINO. BonginoReport.com. If I haven't been using it a lot lately because I've been pulling a lot of stories from the outlets that you just saw. This is the order I use when I pick stories, and then I try to curate them according to type. But it is an excellent site. It is an excellent site. So let's see what we've got here. First of all, by the way, for those of you who don't remember, this administration made one goal for its COVID response that had not already been met by the previous administration, and that was to vaccinate 70% of Americans by July 4th. And they blew it. They didn't make it. They started coming up with stats of different age groups to try and make it look like they made it, when of course they didn't. They did not make it. The one goal they gave themselves, they missed. And part of that is in large measure due to their pause over the Johnson & Johnson vaccine's clotting events. 6 clotting events, 1 fatal, out of almost 7 million doses. And they shut it down for about a week. And vaccination rates never went back up to where they were before. I know some of you in the chat are very happy about that. That you don't want to see anyone getting the vaccine, or any vaccine for that matter. I understand your position on that. I disagree, but I certainly welcome your right to make that known. I will never censor the chat. The only thing I censor in chat are basically ethnic slurs. If I see an ethnic slur that I haven't already banned in the filter, I jump on it. That's it. Otherwise, I don't care. It's up to you guys. You're adults. You can police yourselves. I do have to quote Ray, though, just a moment ago. Surf and killer turkey with hat. Now, for those of you who don't get the reference, I'm playing Far Cry 5 in the mornings right now. Every morning, starting at 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and on the weekend, 9 a.m. Eastern, I play a PC game. I've played the complete Witcher series. Well, I'm sorry, 2 and 3. I played 1, but I didn't stream it. But I streamed all of 2, all of 3, including all 3 endings of the Blood and Wine DLC. But I'm playing Far Cry 5 now. And one of the side games in Far Cry 5 is hunting. There are animals everywhere. Cougars, elk, caribou, grizzly bears, black bears. Brown bears, hawks. No, not hawks, pardon me. Bald eagles, quail, rabbits, technically hares. This is in Montana, so they have hares. But one of the big ones is turkeys. And these are all tom turkeys, and they are all vicious. Tom turkeys during mating season will attack anything. And this is set up as if it were mating season. Oh, there's bison, too. The bison will mess you up. Bison will attack you and knock you up. But the turkeys will attack you. Now, the thing is, if you kill game and you don't run over it with a car or shoot it with a heavy caliber machine gun or blow it up or set it on fire, you get a lot of money for the parts. You get meat for bait from animals, and you also get either skin or, if it's a bird, feathers. But if you set it on fire, it's not worth anything. Of course, with turkeys, I use a shotgun. I'm running through the grass, going from point A to point B on foot. I normally use a helicopter, but I was going on foot. And I was attacked by a turkey. Okay, great. Well, I didn't have my shotgun out. So I'm scrambling to get my shotgun out. And when I am flustered, doesn't matter what I'm doing. When I'm flustered, my brain shuts down. And I go purely to monkey button, as I put it. Or I just start mashing things. Somehow I managed to draw my shotgun, and I shot the turkey. Now it's attacking me. I'm taking damage. It's hitting me. It's hitting me. I shoot it with the shotgun, and it lights on fire. I forgot I had incendiary rounds in the shotgun. Well, it's not dying, but it's hurt. It takes a couple shots to knock down a turkey, even close range with a shotgun. So now I'm scrambling to change the ammunition in the shotgun from incendiary to either slug or buckshot. And that's a whole nother area in the menu. You have to open a window, and then you have to highlight the weapon, and then you have to use your middle mouse scroll wheel to change the ammo. And you have to look and see which ammo it is when you're done scrolling. So I try to do that, pull up, go back to shooting stance, hit the turkey, and I set it on fire again. It's still not dead, though, and it's still attacking me. So I open up the menu one more time to try to change, and I'm dead. The turkey kills me. The turkey set me on fire and pecked me to pieces, and I died. I was killed by a flaming turkey. And Ray was right there for the whole ball of wax. He saw every second of it. Gobble, gobble, gobble. I'm threatening to put that up on the internet. I haven't yet. Specifically, it's all of them. All of my game streams are on the internet. I stream on YouTube, Twitch, Trovo, and DLive. So they're all up there. But I'm thinking about making that clip specific for the YouTube channel and for my Gab TV channel. All right, moving right along. That was a long story. Okay, So Psaki says the admin will do door-to-door outreach to get people vaccinated. Best of luck there. Best of luck there. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Folks, remember how last week we were told that Republicans want to defund the police because they didn't vote for the multi-trillion-dollar porculus bill that was designed to bankrupt America and make more and more Americans dependent upon government money instead of going out and earning their own? And because Republicans didn't vote for that, and there was that one specific provision in the bill that gave money to police departments, didn't say what they had to use it for. They could have used it for hiring social workers, but it was money for police departments. Because the Republicans voted against that bill, they voted to defund the police. Not that they didn't vote to fund more, they voted to defund. Jen Psaki said that herself. So did a number of Congress Democrats. So now we have this story from the Dan Bongino Show itself by Matt Palumbo, the chief editor of the website. House Dems deny extra money for Border Patrol amid historic border surge. By the way, in case you're wondering, what you see behind in this picture right here, this is a section of the border wall that was going up on the the U.S.-Mexico border. I think this is Texas. This looks like the Del Rio, the Rio Grande Valley to me. This doesn't look like Arizona. And you can see there is a section, several sections, pardon me, of the border fence. That is the border fence design that Trump put up with consultation from the Customs and Border Patrol. And you can see this ground is completely flat. It's all graded for heavy equipment. And there's enough of the wall there for people to laugh at. That's what the Biden administration did, folks. It stopped construction of something that was going to work, that was working, and it was going to work even more. And it made it to where you have to walk an extra 20 seconds to get around it. Laura Weekly says it looks like a stage set. It does, Laura. It does look like a stage set. It looks like a temporary wall. You can see there's a piece of heavy equipment just sitting there, rusting in the sun. And there's a truck with what looks to be cement, cement, ready for mixing, just sitting there. And there are a bunch of illegal immigrants sitting against a Border Patrol truck. You can see they were all captured as a group. This was obviously late last year, early this year, because everyone's dressed for cold weather. So let's see what we have here. This will be our last story. Amid a historic surge in illegal border crossings, Democrats are looking to expand the defund the police movement to the border police too. According to the Washington Examiner, quote, House Democrats eliminated funding for a southern border wall and denied extra money for Border Patrol officers in a 2022 spending bill unveiled recently that comes amid a massive influx of illegal immigration. Last week, a House Appropriations Subcommittee approved a $52.8 billion measure to fund Homeland Security for fiscal year 2022. Democrats who staunchly oppose President Trump's efforts to complete a border wall and build up the Border Patrol to reduce illegal immigration say their measure, quote, makes responsible investments in border security, close quote. Now remember, folks, to a Democrat, a responsible investment is giving money away to people who don't need it or don't deserve it. That is a Democrat's idea of a responsible investment. You remember the common term, the common talking point last year during the election by the Democrats was they didn't believe in border walls because border walls are racist, even though they all have walls around their property. But they want higher tech border. They want technical results on the border, which of course means nothing because you can have all the sensors in the world. But if you don't have boots on the ground to get to where that sensor goes off and arrest the person who's illegally crossing, all it is an alarm for no reason. But far be it from the Democrats to let actual logic get in the way of their talking points. So let's continue. The bill would add no funding for additional Border Patrol agents or border barriers and would rescind the $2.06 billion allocated during the Trump administration for the construction of a border wall. The measure would slash funding for the U.S. Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which carries, apprehends, and reports illegal immigrants. He forgot the commas there. The bill would devote more money to programs aimed at processing illegal immigrants in the U.S., which would allow them to shorten or avoid detention while seeking asylum. Wow. Wow, wow, and wow. Remember, folks, take the word unbelievable out of your vocabulary. Take it out. Because anytime you see something like this from the left, you realize it's just business as usual. It's what they do. It is not unbelievable. It is unrestrictedly stupid. It is anti-American in every stretch of the imagination. Therefore, it is not unbelievable. It is predictable. It is just, you were waiting for it to happen, just hadn't seen it yet. I stopped using the word unbelievable almost exclusively in November of last year, after the election, when I realized nothing is unbelievable. It's just something you didn't know was going to happen when it happened. Michael North says in the DLUC chat, commas are racist now. Thank you. I did not know that until just now. But actually, I take that back. I did know that. Remember, it's been coming out that proper English and grammar, which includes punctuation, are racist. They are signs of white supremacy. That is a thing. That is an actual thing. So, you might have thought you were being funny, Michael, but in fact, you're just being accurate. Once again, nothing is unbelievable. Wheatmouth817 says it best, though. Forget it, Hat. It's Chinatown. Folks, if you've never seen the movie Chinatown, you got to see it. There is a very, very disturbing scene in it. What's his name? The director. The guy who was convicted of sexually assaulting a teenager. Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski directed Chinatown. Jack Nicholson, one of his best roles by far. And Faye Dunaway, too. She was great in that movie. But John Huston also had a big role in it. But Roman Polanski makes a cameo as a gangster who has a penchant for switchblades. And that scene is very, very frightening. Very frightening. But that there is a quote from that movie when someone is saying, "Man, this is really effed up." The line is, "Hey, it's Chinatown." So thank you, Wheatmouth. That's a great quote, man. That's a great quote. That takes me back. All right, folks, let's find our Babylon Bee out, and we will be done for the day. Again, my apologies for lying in the titles that there would be no show today. I honestly forgot from 1 minute to the next that I had said that. That is how bad my memory is. But let's see here. What have we got? Here we go. Perfect timing. Folks, our final Babylon Bee bookend. This is one on the right from their politics section. Public school student can't read but is already racist at a 12th grade level. And here we have a young man in a face mask wearing a pair of headphones looking at appears to be an Apple laptop. Dateline, Chicago, Illinois. Local second grader Scotty Watkins isn't able to read yet, but his teachers say he's showing great promise in critical race theory classes and is currently racist at a 12th grade level. Quote, Scotty's progress is truly remarkable, said his teacher, Sandra Martinelli. Though he can't read full sentences yet, he's in the 99th percentile in CRT. Every time he sees a white person, he reflexively yells racist and punches them in the groin. He's years ahead of his classmates. Close quote. Let me take a drink real quickly. My throat's getting dry. Continuing. Chicago added a CRT section to their standardized testing last fall, which allows the district to compare students' understanding of race relations across different schools. Since most second graders in Chicago can't read, the test involved showing photos of people with different skin colors to the students, then asking how hard the students wanted to punch each photo. The children were then shown flashcards of everyday objects such as apples, trees, books, chairs, and pencils, and asked to identify which items were racist. Scotty earned perfect marks on both tests. He only punched the white people on the first test and properly identified each of the 132 everyday objects as racists in the second. Martinelli said Scotty will be part of a pilot program that sends a few promising third graders to high school next fall to take advanced level racism courses. Quote, "It will be a great opportunity for Scotty to continue his progress in CRT. He might even learn to read in the process." The Babylon Bee, everyone, saying it better than I ever could. All right, folks, we have reached the end of the broadcast day. A little over, actually. A little over for a show I expected to not happen at all. Bless you all for being here. Thank you for putting up with this. Dog, thank you so much for the encouragement. You know, I'll tell you, I'll take bets on this, folks. Perhaps we can do a weekly, kind of off-the-cuff show, put it together, and see what you all think of it. But thank you all so much for your support, for your time, and for your effort. So, till tomorrow morning, if you care to, starting at 8 a.m. Eastern, we'll continue our playthrough of Far Cry 5. We are getting very close to the final battle with Joseph Seed, the big baddie of the baddies. We've defeated his 3 siblings in Hope County, and now it's time for the final battle with Joseph. But before that, I have a bunch of Clutch Nixon obstacle courses to do, and I found a few side missions earlier today, including one that I shouldn't say, and I think there are some others that I haven't approached yet. So we'll have a lot to do. I don't expect we'll be done with the game for at least the next day. We might finish it Thursday. It might take until Friday. We'll have to see. And then, of course, if you don't want to get up in the morning early on the weekdays, I also stream gaming the weekends starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, giving you an extra hour for nap time or cartoons or whatever. And then sometimes I even stream in the afternoon after my lunch. But that's not always a given. You can see on the screen there. And then, of course, every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I do the news rodeo. Or as Electric Dog called it today, the Walking Through the Internet with Hat, I believe is what it was. I don't remember now. I'll have to write that down. Let's see if I can find it. But until the meantime, folks, be well. God bless. Happy trails. I'll see you all real soon. Learning curve on the way out. Bye-bye.
I hope I learned something. I hope I learned something. I hope I learned something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny days. You learned something. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, money